evening, paranormal community, and thank you for partaking in the Odyssey Files. I am your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. David Sawyering. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Universal Paradise World.
Are you done with your snack?
PBJ. Just want to make sure I didn't have peanut butter and jelly. It's like slathered on the side of my face.
That is a good call. That is a good call.
Had to choke one down. Went to the movies this afternoon. We got back and just been kind of scrambling to get back in time for the show. And so I was like, well, better throw down some food really quick so my stomach isn't doing paranormal belly for the next 2 hours while we're talking.
You kidding me? Do you know how many people would write us and be like, I think we have demons on the show?
Oh my God, it'd be hilarious. Did you guys hear that? Right in the middle of Dave was talking about. I heard it, man. Clear as day.
Kill them.
Exactly. They will all die.
So you did watch The Pope's Exorcist.
I did watch that the other day. Yeah. I expected a little bit more. It was good. I didn't think it was bad. I expected it to be a little bit more visually disturbing with the amount of CGI kind of specialty stuff they can do these days. I didn't think the kid was that creepy, to be honest with you, for the King of Hell. I mean, it's the King of Hell, for crying out loud. It's not like some low-life demon.
True.
So I expected that. I thought that the kid could be a little creepier, but I thought the movie was good. I think that was kind of, and I don't want to give it away, but I mean, I thought that the storyline where it went and the background behind the Abbey and stuff like that, I thought was pretty well written and pretty well done.
Gotcha. We'll talk about more after the show.
Yeah,
because I obviously have seen it as well. It's one of the only paranormal movies that I have seen in a couple of years because I just despise them so flippin' much. But I did enjoy it too. I thought they did a good job making it probably about as realistic as they could.
Yeah,
as opposed to the scares and the shock, and stuff like that. So
I would like what would really happen.
I'm both happy and a little surprised that Russell Crowe played Father Amorth.
Father Amorth,
yeah,
an upcoming show plug, by the way.
Yeah, well, it is because we're definitely going to do a show on him and whatnot. But yeah, I thought he did a good job. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It would kind of be like my thing of Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah,
like a lot of people are like, what? No, that's just not going to work. And then they blow it out of the park.
Right.
But anyways, so we are fresh off just 4 days, 3 days, something like that.
3 days, 3.5 days, whatever.
Off of our interview with Mark Marinaccio. Just rolls off the tongue now.
Absolutely.
Who is the showrunner of Skinwalker Ranch. And I know last Sunday, Dave and I also had the show talking about Skinwalker Ranch, but we didn't get to hardly anything that we had set for the show. So we wanted to do just one more small little hour where we talk about those things along with our interview, anything off the interview with Mark that we might want to discuss further. And so that'll be the second hour. But first we have a long line of stories for you. So do you have anything that you want to discuss before we hit the mailbag?
No, I got something I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to save it for, I think, the opening of hour 2.
Okay.
Something that I've been kind of thinking about that I wanted to bring up and kind of get your feedback on it, and it's recent paranormal, so I'm going to save it for the beginning of hour 2 because we got a bunch of stories this week, and I'm afraid that we're gonna like our hour is going to be full with trying to get answers out for everybody.
Yeah, well, we never get all of our stories out.
No, well, we try. So,
Well, of course we try. We just fail like every week.
yeah. Yeah, we fail
So,
miserably most of the time.
well, that's because there's a lot of information to give, Dave, and
There is. I agree. 100%.
we're very detailed in what we want to tell people, as opposed to nope, you're wrong, and okay, next question. So, which sometimes I will admit is the only answer I want to give. Just nope, you're wrong. And
You're
next. So, oh yes, and of course, what show would be complete without
Michael's right. Michael's right. Michael's right.
whoops,
Michael's right.
put that on loop on accident. Sorry, that was not supposed to actually play that many times. What a happy coincidence. I'm serious.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know why, but StreamYard like has the default that everything needs to be looped, and it doesn't. And I forget about that all the time. So anyway, let's start. The Odyssey Files is proud to present the Mailbag. And I don't, for some reason, it that just seems too short. But on the other hand, it's just a mailbag opening. It's like it doesn't need to be any longer. So I'm stuck.
Agreed. I think it's because the siren doesn't complete its cycle. It gets kind of cut off like for about a second and a half.
Maybe that's it. So, all right. Story number one. Do you think consuming paranormal media opens you up to hauntings? I was in the mood for spooky podcasts and started listening to some true ghost stories. It's been a few weeks, and while I was listening, especially to recordings of people experiencing spirits in real time, I started to wonder if by somehow listening to this, it could open me and my home up spiritually. I never said this out loud. It was just a musing I had. In the past couple of days, my kids, especially my older son, have been complaining about things going missing. He couldn't find his computer mouse, for example, but then found it under a cabinet. His school folder went missing, which isn't necessarily abnormal. They're kids and often forget where they put things. Then yesterday, as we walked into the house after picking my kids up from school, they were arguing about something. I used my mom voice and said, "Enough, guys." And then we heard a big crash that sounded like it came from the bathroom. There's a window in our bathroom, and sometimes the air vacuum pressure or whatever from opening and closing doors can cause enough of a breeze to knock things over. I made a quick joke about them upsetting the ghost and went to pick up whatever fell. But there was nothing. Nothing had fallen anywhere. It was really strange. I'm 99% sure, just like you, Dave.
Just like me.
It's all just confirmation bias in my head, but part of me is curious if somehow I've opened my home up in some way. I've never experienced anything paranormal, and I'm not one to seek out experiences either. I just enjoy ghost stories. Anyway, what do you guys think? I think, well, first, just the question in general is just no. Like we've talked about this many times on the show before, about watching paranormal movies and watching paranormal shows, and now this is kind of gone to paranormal podcasts. Just by listening, watching, you cannot open yourself up to hauntings. Now, with that said, what you can do is put yourself in a position where you are going to think that everything is paranormal. You can psych yourself out, suppose, you know. So now a knock that, before you watched it would have been the house settling. Now all of a sudden was that footsteps walking down the stairs or walking down the hallway. Something where something might accidentally have gotten knocked off the desk and rolled underneath the cabinet is all of a sudden missing, and it's strange to find that there. Now, of course, if it was found underneath the cabinet, in the kitchen, whereas thing is in your son's room, well, that might be a different story. But I'm assuming that because the fact they found it underneath the cabinet, you didn't say that it was in another room, it's probably in the same room. In the folder, I think you hit it right there. As for the crash, I mean, who's to say that that actually came from the bathroom? It could have come from anywhere in the house, as long as it was out of your, maybe around that general vicinity. Might have even come from outside. Uh, but I think that you have primed yourself into believing now that everything that is a little weird is all of a sudden paranormal and connected to you listening to ghost stories. It is not. The only way that that would happen is if there, and we've talked about this before, is if you have in some way used the podcast or anything that they talked about and did it yourself. Like you went
Mhm.
out of your way to invite something in. But again, just listening to it and just enjoying it does not open you up for hauntings. It just primes you to think that everything is the paranormal. It's like watching a horror movie and thinking that you're about to get slaughtered in your sleep. So, and that has happened. So, but yeah, that's my answer. I think you're perfectly safe. Obviously, if anything more stands out or happens, then uh, obviously update, and my answer will probably change. Not so much about the whole consuming ghost stories, but uh, you that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I want to say, first of all, welcome to the world of listening to paranormal podcasts. I think that's great. Um, Secondly, I am on board with Mike on this one. That's it's like you said, finding stuff finding stuff put in weird places to me would be like finding the computer mouse in the washing machine or in the freezer or someplace really that there's no way in hell that it would get there. Like the toilet's not flushing right, and so you pull the top of the back of the toilet off, and there's your computer mouse, affecting the plunger the wrong way. It would be someplace that would be so astronomically weird that you would be like, hold on a second, how the hell could that possibly have happened? Um, I agree that you get yourself in that frame of mind, and then you think that everything's paranormal. I have good years and years and years ago, a good friend of mine was at her house and we watched, I forget what horror movie it was. It was just really good horror movie, graphic horror movie. And part of this ghost horror type of movie, it was downstairs in the basement. And hilariously, the basement kind of somewhat resembled her basement a little bit. Like in the washing machine and the dryer were down there and stuff. And she wouldn't do laundry. I don't even know how long it was, about a month. Like there was no way she was going downstairs to. There's just no way, because she would tell me flat out, if I go downstairs, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna get killed. I'm like, no, no, you're not. It's you're totally fine. But it's one of those kind of things where you get it in your mind, you get it in your head, and then it's in your mind. And once it's in your mind, and if you have an active imagination, forget about it. It's your brain's all over the place. So I think you're perfectly fine. I don't think there's anything strange going on. I think you can continue to listen to podcasts and ghost stories and whatever Bigfoot and UFOs or whatever you're interested in the paranormal. I would say the one thing I would say, and Mike touched on it, is if you are listening to that stuff and all of a sudden you hear something that's like really catches your ear and you're like, oh, maybe I should try that, or maybe I should. I'm going to say don't be an active participant would be my best advice to you if you don't want to have anything happen and you're not trying to seek out an experience. Listening to it, you're perfectly fine. Just don't engage in what you might hear, because we talk about things like stuff that's ritualistic and has a darker side to it. And while we try not to give 100% of how to do it, it doesn't mean that somebody who heard us talking about it wouldn't go out and seek out the information on their own and then do something that they shouldn't do. So anyway, not to beat a dead horse, but I think you're perfectly fine. Don't worry. All right. Number 2, I have no idea if I am mentally challenged or my house is haunted. For the record, I'm a 16-year-old female. I haven't been diagnosed with any mental illness professionally. Uh, okay. But I'm certain what I experience at night isn't normal. I'm not sure if this is paranormal or just mentally challenged stuff. So I'm writing this seeking answers or at least some advice on what I should do about this. Okay. So I moved into this house about 8 months ago. I have a wardrobe which has a sliding door. It faces my side of the bed, unfortunately. And sometimes in the middle of the night, it opens itself. I have a camera installed in my room because of my paranoia. I was uncomfortable in my room for so long that my parents had to install a camera, much to my and their discomfort. So I'm 100% sure the wardrobe door opens on its own. My parents have no explainable reasoning for it until this happened. On July 15th at 3:14 a.m., my parents rushed into my room to ask if I was okay. I was, but that was until I saw dirt and whatnot on my pajamas. Much to my shock, my parents told me they got a motion detected message on their phone 3 separate times. I told them I was sleeping the whole time, and they disagreed and were kind of, I don't know, scared. They looked outright uncomfortable, and they showed me footage of me walking out of the bedroom. They thought I was going to the bathroom, but they were wrong as I was heading to the front door. Again, I didn't wake up the whole time, so that's not possible. Later, after I came back in, I stood at my bedroom entrance for around 2 minutes and sat on my bed facing the wardrobe. What happened next was uncomfortable. It really freaked me out. I'm just going to interject here that I'm already freaked out by your actions. Facing the wardrobe as the least part of what's freaking me out here. I was looking straight at the wardrobe. It was opened a bit, and I swear I could see a face. My parents couldn't see this on the camera they had installed, but I saw it so clearly. I've been sleeping with my parents now, but it's not exactly still sitting right with me. I wake up to see a figure clear as day in my parents' bedroom ceiling. It freaks me out until I blink my eyes twice and poof, gone, just like that. Please help me and suggest to me if I should call a therapist or a priest. Okay, so let's talk about this. Is a perfect question for talking about things going way too far out in left field. So, no, you do not need to call a priest, because what's a priest going to do? You didn't say anything about the fact that you go to church or that you follow any type of religion or that you even believe in God. So, what is calling a priest going to accomplish in your life? It's not like your hot water tank went out and you called the plumber and they came in and replaced the part and everything's fixed. It doesn't work like that. You have to have faith. You have to be grounded. We've talked about this many times. So, calling a priest definitely is not what you should do. Should you call a therapist? I would say before you call a therapist, I would go in and get a medical exam done. I would get a full physical. I would talk about the fact that you're sleepwalking. Um, I don't think sleepwalking is abnormal. I used to sleepwalk all the time as a kid. I know it's a rare percentage of us that did. I talk in my sleep, have full conversations. I sleepwalk. Thankfully, I don't anymore, but I did quite a bit when I was younger. So I don't think I'm not going to say that there's nothing paranormal going on here because that would be, that just wouldn't be the right thing to say. I don't think. So I am going to say that there potentially is something paranormal going on here, and maybe what's happening, maybe the whatever's paranormal is causing you to walk in your sleep. I mean, maybe sleepwalking for you is maybe you're totally unaware that you walk in your sleep, and it's so rare, like you have never done it, and all of a sudden you're starting to do it. Because here, when she added again, I didn't wake up the whole time, so that's not possible. Well, you wouldn't wake up if you're sleepwalking, so it's totally possible that you walked out the front door and that you got dirt on your pajamas because you were outside. Um, Standing at your bedroom entrance, for about 2 minutes. I'm just trying to break this down here. Standing at your bedroom entrance for 2 minutes. If you're sleepwalking, who knows where your brain was? You're not consciously aware of where you're at. So you could have been doing 10 other things in your mind while you were just in pause mode and happened to be standing at the front door. So I wouldn't say that's a problem. So the thing that I question here is sitting at the bed facing the wardrobe. So it got to the point where you're scared enough that you put a camera in your room that focuses on this wardrobe. You're scared of the wardrobe. Your parents are scared of the wardrobe, it sounds like. Everybody's scared of the damn wardrobe. So my question here, my best advice to you is, why the hell is the wardrobe still in your room? I would get rid of it. I don't care if you sell it. I don't care if you give it away. I don't care if you just move it out to the garage for a while. I don't care if you have to stack your clothes in some egg crates or milk crates, whatever. Whatever you have to do. If you take a look at it right now, this has got you so worried and so scared and so freaked out that you're 16 years old and you're sleeping in your parents' bedroom. So I would get rid of this damn wardrobe. I think that's the smartest thing to do. You alleviate the cause, because it sounds to me like this is the cause of your dismay and your paranoia. I would get rid of this wardrobe, get it out of your room, and then go back and sleep in your room and see how you feel. My guess is that things are going to get better. My guess is also that there's probably nothing going on with this wardrobe, and that possibly it could be, no, I don't want to say that it's just your mind making things up, because that's absolutely horrible advice. So I don't know. Move the wardrobe and then get back to me. How about that? That's about the best I got, I guess, on this one. Move it, get it out of the bedroom, move it out of there, give it a couple weeks, let us know how you're doing. And then we can go from there as to whether or not it's paranormal. But no, you don't need to call a priest or a therapist at this point. I would say that it's possible that there's something medical going on here. So I'll leave it at that. I've been rambling here. All right, I'm done rambling. Go ahead, Mike.
I agree that just a physical would be probably in the best interest of the author, of the writer. The whole sleepwalking thing could have been triggered by the fact that she's paranoid about the wardrobe.
Mhm.
The walking out and trying to get away from it and standing at the entrance, not wanting to go in. I mean, all of this could stem from just the fact that you're freaked out about this wardrobe. So I agree that maybe just getting medical advice, like a medical opinion, not even a diagnosis, just an opinion. Like talk to your doctor, your family doctor, whatever, and be like, this is what's going on, and this is what I think might be the cause. Maybe leave off the whole I saw a face in the wardrobe thing,
Right.
but and just see what they say about how stress handles it. I mean, you haven't been diagnosed professionally, which leads me to believe you went on like WebMD and try to diagnose yourself. Um, but I do think that you're probably just fine. Um, I think the whole face thing was probably matrixing and pareidolia, and you saw what you expected to see, which is probably why your parents didn't. And I sometimes too, like when I wake up or I look at this or that, I'll see a face or whatever, and a couple blinks later, it's gone because your eyes haven't adjusted. And I think you're probably matrixing that too. Um, so I think the best advice I can give you is chill the F out.
Yeah.
Listen to my girl Taylor. You just need to calm down a little bit and just talk to your family doctor and just get an opinion, and just make sure that you are all right. And if maybe there is a medical reason, maybe it runs in the family. I don't know if sleepwalking, a pill or something like that. I'm sure. I don't know what the what the medication for sleepwalking is, or if there is. Um, but yeah, I think that they would, if it gets too bad, um, I think they would just put you on something. But I find it interesting that you're sleeping with your parents and it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. So maybe it's because you're comfortable and you're away from that source of your anxiety, and so you can. I think you're right, Dave. I think get rid of the wardrobe or move it.
Yeah.
Give it to your parents. Let's see.
Exactly.
Well, let's see what happens with them. And I think I don't know why this wardrobe stems such anxiety, but that's not for that's I don't want to say that's none of my business, but I mean I think that's kind of immaterial. But yeah, I'm not ready to say that there's anything actually paranormal going on here, and I think you should just get a medical opinion and move the wardrobe. I think you'll be just fine.
Yeah. And if things continue, like I said, get back in touch with us.
Exactly. All right, number 3. Not sure if it was a time slip or what happened. My husband and I were driving back from Sequoia National Forest. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Sequoia? Okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Just want to make sure. National Forest. We had just gotten into downtown LA on the 5 freeway, 47 minutes left on the GPS till we were home. All of a sudden, we approached a tunnel. If you know the 5 freeway, you know there are no tunnels. My husband quickly asked, why is there a tunnel on the 5? Since we had no choice but to continue through the tunnel, we proceeded. Once on the other side, we approached a red light and made a right turn. I looked over and saw the beach. Somehow we ended up at Santa Monica, right by the pier. We both looked at the GPS and it now said we had an hour and 20 minutes until our arrival home. Now, to get from where we were on the 5 in downtown LA would have taken us 45 minutes and getting on the 10 freeway. There's just no way that could have happened. We were both alert, looking around, having a conversation. Has this happened to anyone else? What do you guys think could have happened? I think he took a wrong turn. That's what I think happened. I don't think it's a time slip just because all of a sudden you were further away from home than you were before. I mean, I recently, and I don't know how old, obviously, the couple is, but I recently went down to visit my father and took a way home that we've always taken. We were having a conversation. He missed his turnoff, and all of a sudden we were a half hour down the road, and he had no idea where he was. I definitely think that when you're distracted, and taking this as a driver now, when you're distracted, when you're having a conversation, I think things can change really quickly and you not even noticing, especially if you're in like traffic or anything like that, and you're just kind of following the motions while not really paying much attention to what lane you're in. That can happen very quickly without either of you noticing. So I don't think that it's that difficult to all of a sudden be much further away from home than you were, especially if your home is to the south and you ended up going north. And before you realized it, you were 15, 20 minutes further down the road, which puts you, an hour and a half or whatever longer than you were before. This isn't a time slip. A time slip would be like if you were on the freeway and you were 45 minutes from home, and then 2 seconds later, you were 5 minutes away from home. Like that would be a time slip, something like that. But this, I just think you guys you took an exit you weren't supposed to and didn't realize it.
Okay. I can totally get behind that.
Are you going with time slip?
I don't know if I'm going to call it a time slip. I think that the fact that there was a tunnel that appeared on the 5 and there's no tunnel on the 5 here.
I don't think they were on the 5 anymore. I think they were way off the 5.
I just got to take it for what it is, man. That's how the question was written, or how it was written to us. So I got to take it how it was written. So I think the tunnel here plays an important part. I don't know that it was a time slip. I wouldn't call it that, but I would call it like teleportation. It seems odd that it would only take you to Santa Monica. I mean, to me,
isn't that where all time tunnels go?
I don't know. It could be. I mean, it's not a bad. It's not bad. If you're going to pick a place to go, I mean, it could be like downtown Detroit, or it could be Santa Monica Pier. Or it could be the neighborhood I grew up in, right? I mean, I would take the Santa Monica Pier. So if that is where all the time travel portal tunnels end up, I need to find a portal tunnel here this winter when I need a break from the snow and the ice. So I'm not going to say it was that you drove into the tunnel and poof, you showed up someplace else. Because to me, if you were heading home and you were 47 minutes away coming from Sequoia National Forest and you're heading home back to LA and you're 47 minutes away and you entered the tunnel and next thing you know you're in the middle of Idaho, to me, that's like
That's
that's like
fair.
right. I mean, that's like a what the hell moment right there. Like that would be, that would be, or you're up in Washington or Oregon or so. I don't, someplace still on the West Coast, but 6, 8 hours away from home. I would say that would be some sort of like you drove into some sort of time slip, and it would have, because a time slip, you got to remember, we don't really know what it is. So is it just a matter of minutes if you enter a time slip, or is it a matter of days, or is it a matter of, I would say it's probably not. I would say if you enter a time slip, you're not entering into a 5 or 10 minute distortion of time. I think you're entering into a day's worth, maybe 2 days worth, or 800 miles or whatever the case might be. I think it's going to be something drastic. I don't think it's going to be something simple. So no, I'm going to agree with Mike on this one. I just wanted to see what you would say if I if I was headed down the time slip tunnel. So I agree with Mike. I think you just made a wrong turn. I think you probably were engaged in a good conversation. They said they were having a good time, looking around, having a good conversation. So I think that you were having a good conversation, and you just missed your exit or missed a turn, and weren't paying attention. I mean, I don't know that I've ever done it, to be honest. I've been in cars when people have done it. I don't know that I've ever done it. I mean, I could have. Who knows? You know. And you miss your exit, and you go down, and you grab the next exit, and you're 5-10 minutes out of the way or whatever. In this case, obviously, the conversation you were having was really good because you ended up blowing 40 minutes, which means you drove. Mike put it pretty well. So if you're in LA and you're driving, let's say south, and you miss the LA exit, and you get on the Santa Monica Freeway, and you drive for 20 minutes before you realize that you made a wrong turn. Well, now you're 20 minutes south. Now you got to drive 20 minutes back. That's 40 minutes total. That's what your time slip, in quotes, was about 40 minutes of difference. So I think it's easily explainable.
Yeah.
Um,
I was saying, and let me just point out really quick about the example that I used about being with my father who was driving, who had taken this path home many, many times.
yeah.
I think he would have ended up in he lives in Phoenix. I think he would have ended up in San Diego if
Before you
I had
realize.
if I hadn't said anything, because it was me that was like, weren't you supposed to take this exit, which was like probably 20 miles down the road? And he's like, what are you talking? He's like, he had no idea where he was. He had never been that far down the highway before. So, I
Wow.
mean, if it hadn't been for me, he would have ended up in California. So I just want to say it's perfectly plausible that when you're having a conversation and you're enjoying it, you are absolutely not paying attention to the GPS. You're not paying attention to your surroundings. A long ways can go by before you actually are like, wait, where are we? And honestly, you didn't even notice any difference in thing until you got to a tunnel, which is very hard to miss.
I would agree with that. I mean, that's a big deal. Like if you know there's not a tunnel on the 5 and all of a sudden you're going through a tunnel, you pretty much know that somehow you made a wrong turn. Is the way I would look at that. I mean, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, there's a tunnel. We better not drive through it or we're going to end up at the pier. Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Like I said, man, put that. I'm looking out the window right now. They could be a tunnel magically show up here right as I'm looking right out my window, all winter long. It could just arbitrarily show up, and I'll be more than happy to drive through it and end up right at the pier, at the stoplight by the pier. That'd be just fine.
Yep, agreed.
But but I think they're fine. So I will say this: when I was younger and like I was jamming out the tunes, there probably was like when I was really into jam, my stereo was cranking. There might have been a time or two when I like missed a turn because I was just into a great song and I wasn't really paying attention to what the hell else I was doing. So, okay, number 4, and we were doing pretty good. We were staying away from these, and it popped back up. So, should I play with the Ouija board? Hi guys.
No.
Exactly. Move on. Hi guys, this is a very strange encounter for me, and I would really like advice. I have never gotten involved with the paranormal besides watching a few movies. However, the other day I came home to find a Ouija board on my front porch. It was as if someone left it there. No packaging or anything, just an old Ouija board game in the box. I took it inside my house and didn't think much of it, but for some reason, I've felt such a calling to play with it. It's so strong. It feels so strange and unlike me. I would never think to play with one, but I find it all so coincidental. What do you think I should do? This is going to be a pretty easy one. So I think that if your garbage comes on Monday, Sunday night, you should go out and take the Ouija board that showed up on your porch mysteriously and throw it in the garbage can and be done with it. Never open it. Don't open the box. Don't be tempted to play with it. If you are tempted to play with it, take it out and put it in the garbage right now. Secondly, the next time that you come home and you find something strange on your front porch, notice it, I guess, because it's strange and it's on your front porch, but don't bring it in the house. What are you bringing it in the house for? You should have just left it there. Maybe some kids in the neighborhood were playing with it, and I don't know, whatever. So wherever that path of thought was going to go, I'm not even going to go there. So the fact that it was on your front porch and it shouldn't have been on your front porch, that is not a reason to bring shit in your house. Okay. So don't bring it in the house next time, whatever it is. Throw the Ouija board away. It's perfectly okay to throw it away. If you haven't played with it, you got no reason to worry about it. It's just a box. It's just a board. There's nothing happening with it. It isn't going to affect you in any way, shape, or form. You don't need it in your life. Toss it. That's the best advice I can give you. If you feel like it's calling to you, I think that's just your imagination. Ouija boards don't like call out to people. Haunted objects can. I don't get me wrong. If you bring a haunted object into your house, a haunted object certainly can call out to you. Could be a haunted object that doesn't mean it's negative, doesn't mean it's something bad. It just means it's a haunted object. So I've had when I had my antique store, I had haunted objects roll through as the energy came. As soon as I would bring something in and unbox it, I would feel the energy and I'd be like, hey, there we go. We're putting this one on sale right away. So, can it happen? Sure, you can bring haunted stuff in your house. I don't think that this Ouija board that was arbitrarily placed on your porch is a haunted object, and I think it's perfectly fine just to dispose of it. So no, my answer, short answer, you should not play with the Ouija board.
This is one of those stories where, again, I am both thankful and appalled that you didn't give this one to me first.
I gave the next one I gave you is right up your alley.
I'd rather have the Ouija board one, but that's okay.
Okay.
All right. So should I play with the Ouija board? No. Short answer. No. 2 words. Leave a little bit longer answer. Hell no. Honestly, you come home to find a Ouija board on your front porch, and your first thing was, I guess I'll bring it in the house.
Yeah, no.
Just I honestly think that you piss somebody off and they put that there on purpose. Either, and this might even be one of those, I really hate to go out in left field here, but just to maybe throw out all the details I possibly can. It almost seems to me like this is one of those where somebody did something ritualistic with it, and then they have to, send it on to somebody else in order to, for something not to happen to them. And hey, guess what? They chose you. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, I don't think there's anything good that could come from this whatsoever. So 100%, because I'm not you, agree with Dave that you just need to dispose of it immediately. And I think that that's going to be best for everybody. And then whoever suddenly dies or bursts out in warts or something, that's the person who gave it to you. Because it failed. But yeah, so I would rethink your friends in your life and throw your Ouija board out into the garbage without playing with it.
Right. Yeah. Don't even open it up. Don't open the box up. No reason to.
Exactly. All right, number 5. What exactly are shadow people? I've heard the term before, but never knew what they were till I started reading stories about them. If they are not ghosts, what are they? What do they want? What's the goal for them? Since starting to read about them, I've been so paranoid they are around me. I have a dog. Would he be able to sense them if they were to come around? I also am chock full of negative energy. So if they feed on that, I think I'm in serious trouble. Please help. Believe me, you definitely need some help. If anybody needs to seek out a therapist, it's this person, not the sleepwalker lady.
Yeah, not the young girl. Yeah.
All right. What are shadow people? Shadow people are, they could have two different types of designations or categories or whatever you want to call them. They could be inhuman entities because they were never human to begin with. Doesn't mean that they're demons. It just means they were never human, which is what the term inhuman entity means. But the most common theory as to what they are is they are interdimensional beings, which is why none of our blessings and saging and any of our banishment rituals work on them. So if you have any of them around you, you're just going to have to move. So what are their goals? I honestly don't know. All I know is that they hate us. But I mean, we're still working on the whole. What are they trying to do here? They are rare. So the fact that you're all paranoid now that they're all around you probably is not the case. Because believe me, you would know. Like they're not subtle in anything that they do. So if you just have I feel like I'm being watched, not a shadow person. Now, there's obviously the difference, and I have to point this out each and every time that there is a complete difference between shadow people and shadow figures. Shadow figures are just partially manifested human spirits, they're the ones that float down the hallway, or you see them out of the corner of your eyes.
Right.
Like I said, shadow people, not that subtle. So would your dog sense them? Yeah, so would you. So I think you're okay. I think you should stop WebMDing your paranormal problems and relax.
I concur with that. I think that you want to talk about stories tonight where they're going from 0 to 100 in like a second. This is another one where they're going right from, hey, I have heard about shadow people, and oh my god, they're all over the place and they're surrounding me, and my dog, relax. First of all, if a shadow person was after you, you would know it. They would have already made contact, like physical contact with you, and try to kill you, because that's what they're going to try and do. They're either going to try and take you, and I agree with Mike. A shadow person to me, is an interdimensional being. I would classify an inhuman spirit as a demon. Something that's never been alive is, to me, a demonic. Could be an elemental, I guess. Also, it's never been human, but elementals, unless you do something to really disturb the earth or disturb an area that's sacred, important to them, they really carry on doing their own business. I don't really think they give a shit about us unless we happen to offend them gravely somehow. So let's stick with shadow people here. I think that that if they wanted you, they are, to me, they are interdimensional beings. Like I said, if they wanted you, their goal would be to kill you here and pull you into their dimensional type of thing. Now, what I don't know is what that accomplishes. I don't know if that enslaves you. I don't know if that's like a demon harvesting souls. I don't know if that gives them energy. I don't know if it's bragging rights. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is. And I really have absolutely no desire to find out either. So I think that if they were around you, you would know. I would say that for safety's sake, I would, if you can't let this go by yourself, and you're chock full of negative energy, that's an issue right there. Just in your normal everyday life, that's an issue right there. So
I forgot to mention that.
yeah. So go. This is one of those situations where then you should go. I think you should go see a therapist and go get some help and go talk to somebody, because your negative energy, that's just baggage you don't need in your life. Nobody needs to carry around a ton of extra baggage. So get rid of the negative baggage, drop it, get rid of whatever it is, man. Sort it out. Go talk to somebody who can help you. Sort it out. Get rid of it. Leave it alone. Put it to rest. And I, I, well, I'm not going to say 100% here, obviously, but I think that if you got rid of your negative baggage and you raised your vibrational level and you raised your positivity internally and you became a happier person, I don't think that I don't even think shadow people would be part of the conversation in your life anymore, to be honest with you. I just don't think they would be. I think the only reason you're even talking about them is because you're in a really dark or negative spot. And so you think that because maybe you read something that they're attracted to people who have negativity, or they're attracted to people who are in a dark spot. Now you're self-medicating, like Mike said, and you are self-diagnosing, and you're thinking to yourself, well, shit, that's me. That's me. I'm screwed. They're all around me now. They're coming to get me. So I don't think that's happening. I think you're okay. Go see a therapist or go see somebody. If you can't afford a therapist, there's other ways, that you can go talk to people, and go talk to somebody. Get rid of your baggage. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll feel better about your life, your surroundings, people in your life. Everything will get better. And then you won't even be thinking about shadow people anymore. They'll be part of your history. Anything else?
No, the only thing that I was at all going to add is, at least the silver lining is that this person is amazingly self-aware.
Yeah, I'll give him that. It is true. It is true that negative, like somebody who's in really negative all the time, has the ability to attract, has the ability to attract negative spirits. That's a fact. So get rid of the negativity, and I think everything's going to be just fine.
I agree.
And it's just a better quality of life for you. I mean, why walking around negative all the time is just not a way to use the time you got on the planet Earth. So, okay, number 6, questions about spirits. Are spirits able to follow you? I visited an abandoned house and felt that there were some spirits around me. Ever since I've been home away from that house, I've felt as if they have followed me home. I haven't felt any negative vibes from them, but I do feel them. What do you guys think about this? We've talked about this quite a bit. Do spirits have the ability to follow you? Absolutely, they do. Do they usually? No, I don't think so. Do they ever? Well, of course they do. There would be 2 reasons off the top of my head. Number 1, you have a very attractive aura or personal vibe, and the place that you went to, this abandoned house, whatever entity was there, whatever spirit was there, I'm not going to say trapped there, because they might not be trapped. They just might have been there at the same time you were there. That spirit really dug your vibe and was like, hey, I really like this person's energy. I'm going to go hang out with them for a couple days. And that it could be just that simple. It's not necessarily a bad thing. That's why you're not feeling any negative vibes, because they aren't negative, and they're not giving negative vibes because they're not negative. The other side of that coin for me would be if you went there to that abandoned house and you did something stupid, and you pissed off, and doing something stupid could be a multitude of things. So, and you pissed off the spirit that was there. The spirit that calls that a home. And at one time it was, any abandoned house was somebody's home at one point. So it was their house. They loved it. They're still there. You walk in and disrespect it or disrespect them or act like a total asshole in their house. And they're like, I don't really appreciate that. So they decide that, they could always go back to their house. They decide they want to see where you live. And so they followed you home, and they're kind of standing around your house, glaring at you, pissed off at you because of what you did. And so you feel their energy. I think that's totally plausible that happened. My question for you, I guess, would be, what are you doing at abandoned houses? If you're a junior ghost hunter, then don't be surprised that you got followed home, because you probably asked to be followed home. And now you got exactly what you asked for. So that's about it. Can they follow you home? Absolutely. Yeah. Spirits can follow you anytime they want to, for a multitude of reasons. My top two, I guess, are follow you because they'd like you, and follow you because you did something stupid at a place where they feel is important in their life.
I do agree with those two reasons, although I think the latter probably is less likely, because he doesn't sense any negativity or anything from any entity that may or may not have followed him home. You know, if this person was there, and I, again, completely agree with you, don't trespass. That if you didn't mention it, I definitely was going to. It's just, what are you doing there in the first place? Like, it's not your property, it's not your home. Follow proper channels, don't trespass. And if you were there to see if any, because it was a really creepy house or something like that, and you wanted to see if there were any spirits in there,
urban legend type of house, maybe, right? We haven't talked about urban legends in a long time. Like, maybe that's the witch's house, where she took children and ate them in the basement. So I had to go see it for myself,
Maybe. I don't know. But the fact that, you walked into this abandoned house and, you're like, I can feel the spirits here, probably leads me to believe you weren't checking out the decor. Like, you were there for the specific reason of seeing if, there was anything paranormal or supernatural happening there.
Right.
So if there is a spirit that followed you home, I think it's for the former that you said, Dave. I think it's, I like this guy, or, hey, here's my ticket out of here, or
Yep.
hey, now I don't have to be alone. Here's somebody that can be my friend.
Yep.
All that sort of stuff. Again, depends on what you said. Depends on what you did. And the house is going to depend on whether you were followed home and for what reason. So, I mean, I think a lot of, you call them junior ghost hunter, those call them amateurs or rookies anyway, make that mistake a lot. They don't understand the power of their words and the intent that they put behind them. And then, lo and behold, something's now in their house, just because of it. So yeah, can spirits follow you home? Absolutely. I don't know if it's necessarily they can just arbitrarily be like, I'm going to follow this guy home just for no reason, with no invite or no anything. I'm not completely sure on if that's actually what they can or cannot do. I've always run on the thing that there has to be some sort of invite, some sort of intent behind it that allows them to attach themselves to you. But that obviously is still up for grabs and needs further study and research. So yeah. There's something else. Nope, that's about it. So yeah, I think that's definitely the case. So here's what we're gonna do now. I'll read the next one, and then we're gonna go to break, and then we'll have our answers afterwards. So, advice on how to deal with this. Do these things happen to anyone else? I just moved into a new apartment 2 years ago. Stuff started last summer. I was showering, and a scrubby back thing that's long and hanging on the shower wall in front of me started swinging. Recently, I was making a midnight snack, and it sounded like a heavy metal kitchen knife was picked up and dropped on the table. There was, in fact, a large metal knife on the table. I picked it up and dropped it. Same sound. The dog heard it and ran. A few days later, my purse hanging on the chair started swinging. The bathroom fan has turned on after I leave. Some real weird ones are maybe three times now. I don't know exactly what that means, but 35 minutes or so after I cooked, I smelled burning and the electric stove is on. I've never in my life have been forgetful of something like that. I cook all the time too. Maybe I did forget, who knows? When I was sitting downstairs with my pit bull, maybe around 10 p.m., it sounded as if my chihuahua came downstairs. It was the sound of her nails on the floor. The dog even looked that way. 2 nights ago, around 12 a.m., a squeaky dog toy downstairs was squeaking like crazy. The pets were with us upstairs. I've noticed it all happens at night. A lot of it is in the kitchen. I don't cook at night or go by myself, especially when they want to mess with knives with my back turned and have the ability to pick them up. The animals don't really enjoy the kitchen at nighttime and avoid it. My dog has run from things and shown fear. I know there isn't much I can do. I try to ignore it, but it's hard some days to feel so uncomfortable where I am. On top of all this, I always feel like I'm being watched. It's extremely unsettling sometimes, especially when I'm alone. Can you please help me? The answer to that in 2 minutes. Yeah, we'll be back in 2 minutes. So see you guys on the other side.
Hey, this is Mike Couch from Lost Limbs Foundation. Make sure you check out Mike and Dave on the Odyssey Files because they really need the listeners.
Hello, I'm Al Lagarde from Paper Route Productions, executive producer of Kindred Spirits, Paranormal State, a whole bunch of television shows. And I've worked with a lot of people on paranormal projects and met a lot of people in paranormal radio. And I want to say that Dave and Mike are two people who have a face for radio, in particular, internet radio.
Hey, it's Chris Fleming. More painful than a Tyrannosaurus Rex stepping on your testicle. Listen to Dave and Mike on Odyssey Files.
Hey everybody, it's Chad Lindbergh, and you are listening to the Odyssey Files with David and Michael. And let me tell you, it's almost as painful as a Skype glitch.
This is Andy Lynch, Director of Photography of Kindred Spirits. And when I'm not filming Amy and Adam at some creepy location, you can find me listening to the Odyssey Files with Dave and Mike. Or doing something else, I don't know.
Hello everyone, this is Ken Boggle. You know, you hear so many great moments during each and every episode of the Odyssey Files with Dave and Mike, but if I had to really choose my favorite moment, it would have to be when the show was over.
And we are back. All right. So before we went to break, read the story of the lady who is experiencing a lot of stuff after living in her apartment for 2 years. So, okay. I'm not going to say that this is all in your head because that's a lot of stuff. So the question here is, what is it and why? After living in 2 years, it has only happened since last summer. And that could be for a number of reasons, none of which, somebody who doesn't follow the paranormal or doesn't know about any of these claims or what they could mean, wouldn't mean anything to them. Or maybe they don't know. So some of the reasons, obviously, that activity could just suddenly start after being in a place for a year or however much longer, is easily something changed. Maybe somebody else in your household, not part of the story is who lives in your household, might have done something, might have invited something in under your nose. Maybe you have a son or a daughter and they brought in a Ouija board. Maybe this is the other part of the person that maybe your husband came home and found a Ouija board on his, porch and brought it in, and your son decided to play with it. It's things can happen that you are not aware of. That could be one reason for it. Second reason, if you remodeled something, a lot of things. If there is maybe a former homeowner, I know you said this is an apartment, but still, people can live in apartments for years and years and years. Uh, and if maybe you change something that they did not like, so they are reaching out in anger over whatever it is you changed. Um, I'm not saying that that's your fault or that you don't have any right to change it. You do, but there's a lot of different reasons for why activity could pick up. Obviously, maybe your husband decided to go look at an abandoned house and maybe got followed home. There's so many different ways in which you are not responsible or aware of that can bring in activity. So, I mean, you'd have to first nail that down in order to figure out why this activity has started. I don't necessarily think that you are in any danger, although obviously they could have found something a little less sharp to pick up, and they could have found a different appliance to leave on. So, I mean, I know people are going to go, "This is a demon." It's not a demon. Because they don't act that aggressively right off the bat. Obviously, this happens at night because one, you're more fearful of it at night, which means they can get the biggest bang for their buck. And two, there's obviously there's a theory out there, although I don't necessarily agree with it, that like the gravitational pull of the moon and stuff like that in the air energizes the spirits to be able to interact more with their environment. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with it, but a lot of people do think so. Honestly, my suggestion to you is bring in a reputable paranormal team to see if they can get you some answers. And figure out for you what may be going on. I mean, this may simply be a misunderstanding. Maybe a former homeowner got put into a home and passed away and went right back to their old apartment, not understanding that they had moved out over a year ago, that the new family was there, and now they're freaking out because there's somebody that they don't know in their home. There's a lot of different explanation as to why all these things can be happening. So either reputable paranormal team or even a psychic medium, reputable. Again, don't go on the yellow pages and do eyes, Al's psychic eye, investigations. Get somebody good, and that will be able to tell you exactly what is going on.
Good advice.
Thank you.
My question here would be, first of all, my first question would be, is anybody else experiencing these paranormal things? So is this, it seems to be, I have a feeling that this is female, and it's a loofah, by the way, the long hanging scrubby back thing. It's called a loofah. So
that might lead you to believe that this is male.
I don't know. I think it's female, but so anyway, so whoever it is, I'd be curious to see if anybody else in the house is experiencing anything, or if it's just you and the dogs that are experiencing stuff. If it's just you, and I do think there's something paranormal going on here. If it's just you, then it's focused on you for some reason, which then at that point you need to dissect why. You need to try and figure out what did you do that would cause something to get upset with you. And I'm not even going to say upset, right? I don't think dropping the knife on the table, I don't see that as a threatening gesture. To me, if that knife would have came flying across the room and stuck in the wall, that's a threatening gesture. And people are going to say, well, Jesus Christ, Dave, if it threw the theater, it could have thrown and went right through her. Look, I don't think spirits have bad aim, right? So if she's standing by the dishwasher and something picks up the knife and throws it, and it hits the wall 8 feet from her, it was done intentionally. It was done intentionally to throw it 8 feet away from her. Okay. If it wanted to throw the knife through her, it would have picked the knife up and thrown it through her. But it didn't. And it didn't even throw the knife. First off, it didn't even throw the knife. I'm just saying that I would consider it to be more of a reason to be scared in a negative situation if something like that happened. I don't like the fact, obviously, that the stove has been turned on 3 separate times. That's a little scary, especially, I'd be really aware. Like if the stove, so 3 times. So I would say right now, I would tell you right now, I would be absolutely 100% aware that I don't have like a roll of paper towels that I accidentally forget and leave by the stove, or a dish towel, or a rag, or something like that can fricking start on fire from the burner cranking on high heat. I'd be extremely careful of that. I'd have nothing on my stove and nothing like near it that can fall on it, just in case. You don't want to have the place burned down. So what I think is happening here is, I think that as I read it, and I can only tell you what I'm reading, is that this is happening to you. I think that something's trying to reach out to you. It's either a spirit who's aggressively trying to get your attention, maybe, and not necessarily for a bad reason, but it's a spirit who's trying to aggressively get your attention for some reason. So I think, and I know this sounds much easier than it is, I understand that, but I think that I would advise you to, I would do this before a paranormal team comes in. I would go in the kitchen and take your dogs, make yourself feel secure. I would go in the kitchen and I would sit down and I would ask who's there, and I would record it. And I know you're not supposed to do that. I know you're not supposed to record your own house, but I would try and find out if this entity is focused on the kitchen and kind of who it is, or and I shouldn't even have said that, honestly, because that just totally goes against all my advice. So scrap that idea. So don't ever record yourself. That's a horrible idea. I don't know why I said that. I'm getting old, losing my mind. Have somebody come in and record it for you, but it doesn't have to be like in a whole like investigation setting. So have somebody that's a friend of yours come in and do it or whatever, and then have them listen to it and see if they hear anything without you listening to it. You'll be fine. So then I agree with Mike. I would bring in a paranormal team. I think there's too much happening here for it to not be a haunting. I think this is the beginning of a haunting. I don't think it's also, I do not go demonic here in any way, shape, or form. Had the purse flowing off the chair and the purse strap wrapped around your neck and tried to kill you. Had the knife got picked up from the table and you turned and saw it and looked at it. And as you looked at it, it was coming right at you at 20 miles an hour and you managed to dodge out of the way at the last second. Yeah, I would say that you got a lot of reason to be in show fear. And I think that would be something demonic because it's trying to kill you. It would be an awfully aggressive start, like Mike said, to a demonic entity being there. But, they don't have maybe it's a rogue demon, right? I mean, maybe they're just like, hey, I'm going in full tilt on this one, man. I just need to collect this one, whatever their thought process is.
A demonic hold my beer moment.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You ain't gonna believe this shit, man. Hold my beer. Watch this, and then whips a knife at her or starts the stove on fire or, I'd be worried. I understand your concern. I would be concerned too. The stove has me concerned. The knife, not so much. The stove has me concerned. Something obviously is trying to get your attention with the whole swinging your purse on the chair. Well, that's why I thought it was female swinging the purse. And the loofah swinging back and forth in the shower with no explanation. To me, that's something that's reaching out, trying to get your attention. So I think probably best advice, like Mike said, get a team in, have a reputable team come in and do their initial consultation with you, do an initial walkthrough. If somebody comes in and okay, I'm going to say this. So if a paranormal team comes in and the first time they show up at your place, they've got, two big things full of gear and they're ready to hunker down for a day without ever coming to meet you first, and without ever coming to see your property first, and without ever doing a walkthrough and discussing what's happening in your house first, run away. Don't let them in the house. Because that's the type of team, in my experience, that is going to tell you that you have a demon and your house needs to be cleansed. And for $350, they can cleanse it for you. I think that you get a good team in there. They come in and do things the right way, break down an investigation the way it should be done. They'll get the answers that you're looking for. They'll get a name. They'll get an idea of who it is, why they're there. And then once you have that, you can make a game plan as to how to get rid of it. If you need to have it exercised, which would be the absolute extreme case, but it's not off the table ever. So I leave it in there. If you just need to have your house cleansed by somebody who knows what they're doing, if you just need to move the spirit on, if, as Mike has done in the past, if you just need to come to an agreement and coexist. I don't think that this is like a previous homeowner coming back, but again, I don't know. I'm not there. So if it is, it could just be one of those things where it's a coexist moment, right? They're not going to bother you anymore. You're not going to bother them anymore. You're just going to both be in the same space and you're both going to get along just fine and everything's going to be great. And no more leaving the stove on.
That was really, 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 really long answer.
It was a long answer.
I know I said we like to be detailed, Dave, but we don't have to read the whole book.
Nah, I know.
All right. Well, that does it for our stories for this week. That was our last one. So I guess unless it has something to do with it, because I honestly don't know what it is. You said that you had something that you wanted to bring up at the beginning of the second hour.
I do.
That is recent, and I have no idea what it is. So I don't know if it has anything to do with our topic tonight or not.
Nope, actually it has nothing to do with our topic, but it is potentially paranormal, or at least it caught the eye of the paranormal community for a while. So in July, beginning of July, there was a woman flying out of Dallas who she's on the plane, stands up and basically says, that MFer is not real. They're not real. I'm not continuing this flight, and was pointing somebody out, claiming that that person was not a real entity, that they were some type of, I don't know. She never clarified what she meant by that. But she had a meltdown and she lost her mind and she got off the plane and she went on this tirade, there's a video of it that's online that you can watch. The reason I bring this up is because this is one of 3 incidences that is coming out of a Texas airport. Another one was a couple days later, same airlines. There was a woman sitting on the plane that watched a gentleman walk by. He stopped like he was going to get into his seat and then continued forward through the seats, through 5 rows of seats, and then walked kind of where the stewardesses flight attendant, whatever, would like get the food ready for the flight. She saw it. Her son was with her. He did not see it, but people that were sitting in the seats that got walked through started looking around and kind of like, what the hell was that moment type of thing, like wondering what happened as this entity walked through the seats and walked through them and then walked to the front of the plane. The third one was a lady who was on a plane. Now I don't think this is paranormal, but it's strange because it's coming out of the same location. Right in the same time frame, it jumped up onto the top of the seats and was running back and forth, making demonic growls and attacking people on the airplane. So I don't know what's happening coming out of like Texas airports, but I find it interesting that there might be something going on there.
Hmm.
Three totally separate incidences. One legitimate like ghost sighting on a plane, and then one, don't know why she lost her mind, but she lost her mind thinking that the person there wasn't real. And then and there's been chatter about it online where people that were on the flight were like, she was intent, like that something was really, really wrong. Like she was telling the flight attendants, this plane isn't going to make it to its destination. I'm not going. I want off the plane. I am not continuing on this flight. And she got off the plane. And then the last one with the lady who lost her mind, and that could just be psychosis or it could be something else. But it just happened all at the same, within like a month of each other. All three of these incidences happened all kind of out of the same area, which I find it kind of interesting that it's so location specific.
Well, obviously the middle one, she's got abilities. She can,
Yeah.
or for whatever reason, whatever gentleman was walking through the seats or whatever, wanted her to see it.
Meant for her to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't foresee these being connected in any way. I mean, yeah, I know how much you hate the word coincidence, but just as much as I hate the term high strangeness or synchronicity, but I mean, everything could point to mental illness. Things could point to drugs of some sort.
True.
I just think, I mean, this is Texas.
There we go. Send your hate mail to Mike. Don't send it to me.
No, send it to Jerry Ayers, care of the Calling radio show. He takes care of all.
He's still taking our mail for us.
He's forever.
Nice.
He will take our hate mail.
Appreciate it, Jerry.
Yeah, me too. One of these days I'll tell him. But it's, I mean, Texas is about the most unregulated place now because everybody needs their freedom, and I just think that there might be something going on, like drug related. Maybe somebody's trying to sell some stuff at the on the down low at the airports. Hey, are you scared of flying or whatever? I got this great stuff for you to that'll calm you down, and then before long they're tripping, and they're one's thinking that they're a demon, and and others thinking that whoever she was pointing at isn't a real person. I don't necessarily think that there's, besides the middle one. I mean, the middle one is just a personal experience. I honestly think that probably happens a lot. I mean, if I was an entity, I'd probably just go get free airline. Nobody's going to see me, except this one person. But I mean, it would have been a lot different if that entity had like turned to this lady and winked or smiled or said something and then walked through. But I mean, the fact that he just kind of did his own little thing almost makes me think maybe it's residual, something like that. The first and third one, I really don't think is anything other than some type of either mental illness or temporary psychosis brought on by something that they did in Texas.
Certainly could be. Yeah, I'm not necessarily really trying to connect the dots. I'm just throwing it out there as raw data. I just found it to be interesting that there was 3 separate incidences all coming out of Texas within a very reasonably close time. I mean, within 30 days. I mean, I think that's reasonable for, whatever's happening. To me, it's one of those kind of moments where now I'm paying more attention to like news and chatter coming out of Texas airports, because if there's a 4th and 5th episode, then I'm going to have to say that there's something going on.
That's fair.
And if it just dies with these three, and it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months go by and absolutely nothing else happens, then obviously it was just an isolated incident of, like you said, could be psychosis, could be drugs, could be it could be a ton of different reasons.
Gotcha.
But if in the next month there's 3 more incidences that come out and they all happen to stem out of this airport out of Texas, then I'm going to say that there's something else is going on. Something's in the water at this airport. Let's put it that way.
It might literally be something in the water.
And it could be something, right? You're right. Most certainly could be. Could be a toxin in the water making people lose their minds.
It is Texas.
It is a way to disperse something that you want to disperse.
All right. So moving on to our Skinwalker Ranch kind of conclusion. So which would you like to go over first? Because there's 2 that I really want to get to, and that's the wormhole that they found this past season, and what Mark said last week about the paranormal not even being considered on the ranch.
I don't know if that upset me or if that just made my jaw drop, we got to throw out there too is I got to mention it, is the whole 10% thing. I mean, when we asked him how much of it makes the show, like how much of what happened actually makes it on air, and he said 10%, I was floored. I mean, I literally was floored, and I'm not ever floored. I mean, to think that 90% of what's happening on the ranch never makes it on the show really amazed me. Like, even beyond amazed me. Stupefied. I don't even know if I know the right term for it. But
speechless.
It left me speechless. Yeah, for certain. And I get what he said as far as he really wanted to show stuff that they could document, so it just didn't become a hearsay type of thing. I get that. I totally get that. That's the way that the show operates. I totally understand that. But as many cameras as they have, I just think that there's stuff. I'm with you. I think that there's stuff that's paranormal, and I know you think this too. I think there's stuff that's paranormal happening there, and and they don't want to talk about ghosts, and they don't want to talk about cryptids per se. They're focusing on this UFO and contacting UFOs and alien intelligence and this signal and all this. I think that they're actually catching some stuff on the ranch that they just don't want to incorporate because it doesn't fit the outline of the show. Paranormal stuff that we would be into, paranormal stuff, not UFO stuff, but other type of paranormal stuff. Homestead 2, like the figures in the trees, or the figure standing up on the floor that doesn't exist anymore, or the dark entity that's threatening that's in the road, or all these other things.
I'm gonna preface this whole topic with this one thing, and that is I totally get and respect Travis and Eric's dedication to wanting to keep this as scientific as humanly possible, and go over the data and data, and everything else is unimportant. I get it. They're scientists, but UFOs, UAPs, and alien, whether it's alien contact, whether it's alien, any alien ships, crash landed or otherwise, is by definition paranormal.
Right.
So even from the get-go, all they're trying to do is the same thing that we do, trying to scientifically prove something that is considered paranormal. They're just going about it in a little bit different way. But I mean, they're using FLIRs. We use FLIRs. They're using spectrum analyzers. They're using speakers. They're using all of this stuff that we use in order to, in our investigations, to try and bring some scientific, data to the paranormal. And when Mark gave that, and I know he was just kind of, off the top of his head, and he was just spitballing. But I mean, like, if you did an investigation to Homestead 2 and you caught a picture of an alien, okay, well, what do? You wouldn't be able to know the who, what, where, when, and why. They're not either. They're catching you're catching UAPs. They don't know who, what, where, when, and why.
Nope.
They just send up more rockets and they throw out the signal and they do all this and they still don't get the answers. But if you caught a photo or a video of an alien at Homestead 2, you'd have a pretty good starting point for how to devise an experiment or another investigation to see if you could recreate that or what it was. And
kind of reminds me of, and I was going to bring this up when we were talking to him. It kind of reminds me of the Cockatoo Island thing, right? Where everybody's like, you saw a ghost. I'm like, that ain't no ghost. For the first time I saw it, I'm like, that ain't no ghost. It totally looks like an alien. It totally doesn't look like any ghost I've ever seen. It totally looks like some sort of alien being. That's a full figured form, solid mass. That ain't no ghost, man. And it kind of made me think of that. Like, if they caught something like that on the ranch, wouldn't that take their investigative abilities in a different direction? You wouldn't shoot rockets at it, but you'd come up with something else.
I honestly don't know what they would do, because the paranormal, just in general, still has that stigma where if they were to come out and be like, okay, well, we're going to send this team in to do an EVP session while they're sending up rockets and doing this thing, and they were to showcase whatever it is that they would find, if they found anything, that none of their other scientific discoveries would be taken seriously. That's the only thing that I can think of as to why they can believe in wormholes. They can, capture UAPs up the wazoo. They can talk about, a crashed ship, but for some reason, bringing, whether you can communicate with them or whatever has the stigma around it of being unscientific and therefore is worthless. And I can't get behind that. I respect their theories and everything for it, but I totally disagree. I think they are cheating themselves of a lot.
My gut tells me that they're doing what we do on the ranch. They're just not talking about it.
Maybe the secret of Skinwalker Ranch has nothing to do with the aliens at all. Has to do with what they're doing.
Maybe. I mean, I think the same thing too, right? Like, how do you dismiss, like, the light? They brought in the LiDAR, right? I think LiDAR is a phenomenal piece of equipment. I mean, it's amazing what it does, right? Strips away the forest in South America and finds all these ancient cities and all these pyramids. It's just a phenomenal piece of, it's phenomenal technology. They bring it out to the ranch and it maps out a spire in the East Field. And then they've never talked about it again. And they've flown through the East Field. So obviously it's not a physical structure that's invisible, or something would have crashed into it. So, what is that? You brought, and this is coming from them, right? They chose to show that on the show. So to them, that was important. So you bring something like that up, and then all of a sudden it's like, whatever. But I've never seen them go back. And I think that, for me, I would like to see them close the door on something, on some of these little aspects of things that they're doing, instead of just leaving everything open. Like, go back and just say, look, that thing in the East Field, it was just an abnormality on the LiDAR. There's nothing there. And then just close that door. And then that way, as a viewer, you can move on and focus on what they're trying to do. I agree with you. I totally respect the fact that they're data crunchers and that they're looking for scientific proof. I do not have a scientific mind. Never have, never want one. I think outside the box all the time. I do not think inside the box. I'm not a number cruncher. So God bless them, because we need all kinds of people. But I think that I'm with you on the fact that things are happening on that ranch that are not being looked at, that need to be looked at simultaneously with all this effort being put towards UAPs. I mean, how many rockets do you need to shoot up in the air? And I say this in the nicest way because I'm a huge fan of the show. I'm serious. I mean, I'm not criticizing the show here. I'm just asking a simple question. I'm a huge fan of the show, huge fan of the people on the show. So how many rockets do you need to send up to get repeatable evidence? Because every time they send up a rocket, they get a UAP. So how many equipment failures do you have to have in order to come right out and just say it? You've had equipment failures every single time somebody comes on the ranch with their equipment. You just got to come right out and say it. It can't. Yeah, I don't care if you're scientific minded or open minded or free thought or whatever. You just got to come right out and say there's something negatively affecting all of our equipment here. We need to figure out what that is. I like the idea that you threw out there, right? That it's like a defense system, but it's a non-lethal type of defense system, and I think that Mark kind of went with that a little bit. I think that he was kind of on that page.
He actually went the opposite way. He thought that, well, what he said, my theory was that it's a military AI.
Well, I don't
device.
think it's military AI. I think it's alien.
I know you do. I think
Right.
I think it's us. He went the other way. He thinks like you. He thinks that it's the alien, or he thinks it's the non-biological entity or whatever that.
Alien works just fine. It's been working for decades and centuries, and it works just fine now. So
I know. Extraterrestrial, whatever. ETs.
Right.
So he thinks that, obviously, like you, that it's their device as opposed to ours.
Right.
So yeah, I know. I get that. Continue.
So I think they should focus on. They're smart enough to do this, right? I mean, between the group there, they have more than enough smarts to put something like this together. I think that they need to track down whatever that signal is, and there's got to be a way to do it. There's got to be a way to discover it. So when equipment's getting attacked, there either has to be some sort of energy signal. Has to be, because everything's energy. So there has to be some sort of energy signal or some sort of traceable moment, some sort of traceable anomaly that happens when the equipment is getting screwed with and malfunctioned. I think that they should focus on finding that and then determine, is that possibly something that is of human origin? Is that like something that we could utilize now? Or is it something that we've never ever seen before and it's totally out in left field?
So I don't know if this is doable or not. I don't know if it would make any difference if you put a sensor outside of like a tent or something like that and the equipment inside, so you could still get a signal, or you would still be able to take readings. But I wonder if you wrapped like the tent or whatever, that they put up, and they put all their stuff underneath it. If you wrap that in a Faraday,
yeah, I've thought of that too.
Shield
yourself.
If it would shield, if they would still get that type of malfunction, because if they wouldn't, then that something, that whatever is going on has to be signal based,
right,
and frequency based, and that sort of thing. But again, if you put a sensor or whatever outside, so that your RF spectral analyzer would still be able to read the 1.6 gigahertz signal or whatever, would they not just be able to take out the sensor? I mean, I don't know if that's even, if it's a plausible thing, but
well, not only that, but what if if you talk about wanting to do an experiment, Faraday cage is an absolutely perfect opportunity. You put equipment inside the Faraday cage. Let's say half the drones. Let's say the equipment let's say you have two sets of drones, right? You have Drone Squad 1 and Drone Squad 2. Drone Squad 2 is operated outside the Faraday cage. Drone Squad 1 is operated inside the Faraday cage. you do, you do your simultaneous things where you're trying to go up over the triangle and you're trying to get up to 300 feet, 100 feet, 30 feet, whatever you decide that you want to check out that day. And the one and squad 2 that's outside malfunctions and everything shuts down and they all fly back to their safety position and all the shit's going wrong and squad 2 is completely unscathed. Well, to me right there, that tells me that something's going on that should be traceable, because if squad 2 and squad 1 are run by the same company with the same technology and the same controls and the same drones and everything's the same, and one gets affected and shut down and one does not, and the only difference there is the fact that you're in some type of Faraday cage type of setup, then obviously that Faraday cage is making a difference.
I don't think that would work with the drones because they rely on GPS signals.
Well, it might not make it outside of the Faraday cage.
And the Faraday cage would the whole point of the Faraday cage is no signals in or out.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you get my gist.
Yes, no, I do. I definitely get your gist, but I mean, they would have to try, and I mean, it would have to be just like a computer,
right?
Their computer system or something like that. Something that doesn't require, some sort of signal from someplace else that you could shield it,
right.
Or find some way to. I don't even know if they'd be able to do that, but shield like the batteries, because I mean, it's not so much like the drones and whatnot like didn't know where they were. It was they ran out of batteries immediately and had to come back to the ground.
Right.
So I mean,
I was kind of thinking, beyond Skinwalker Ranch too, when they flew that drone towards that, I don't remember where they were, but I remember they were like on the Jeep tours where they did the Jeep tours, and the guy was talking about it, and he's like, well, and we flew our drone to get some pictures, and as we approached this rock formation straight out here, everything shut down, and and they got that warning, you're entering restricted airspace, blah, blah, blah. And the drone came back. And then they went and they replicated it and they actually got the same thing. So obviously there's this good.
Was that Satan's Peak or whatever? Maybe
it was all I remember about, I don't remember the name of it, but I remember it could have been it. I remember it was the guy who did the Jeep tours. Like he did the outbacking Jeep tours. That's a repeatable incident. You should be able to figure out what signal, like you could, they make technology that you could figure out what signal is gridded to that point. And then is it something similar to that shows up? If it is, then it's military and it's man-made and you're on the right path. If it's not, then, and it's not technology that we understand, or we can't trace it, it's happening, but they can't trace it. Well, if they can't trace it with today's technology, then to me, that would indicate that it's a type of energy or intelligence that we aren't on the same wavelength as. So it would be alien in quotes.
Right. Because I mean, it could be military and we just don't know it.
Right. Could be reptilian, could be whatever.
Could be Elvis. We don't know.
It could be Elvis,
So yeah. As I said earlier, I don't agree with their position on the paranormal. Whether let me rephrase. I don't agree with their public position on the paranormal because I don't know what their private one is.
I'm telling you, I bet you that there is all kinds of shit going on there that they're just not putting in the show.
Very well could be.
I mean, and I'm not holding Mark to this, but when I asked him about cryptids and stuff, he said, and I'm not quoting him here, but I'm going on the gist of what he said, that there were abnormally large animals. That's kind of what he said. Abnormally large animals. What the hell is abnormally large animals on the ranch? Is that like dire wolf? He never elaborated. Couldn't get him to elaborate. So I mean, is that a wolf that's 4 feet tall at the shoulder, like what the Sherman saw? Is that I mean, is there, cardinals flying around the size of crows? I mean, what the hell is an abnormally large animal, and why would they be there? Is an abnormally large animal relating back to skinwalkers? Are you seeing some type of wolf or some type of owl or some type of eagle or crow that's abnormally large because it has direct ties to, the curse of the skinwalkers? Again, where do you categorize that? Is that a cryptid? Is that a ghost? Is that a spirit? What is that? Right?
No
I don't
idea.
really know. I don't know what category to necessarily. I don't think that fits into just one category nicely. I think it kind of touches a lot of different things. And maybe that's it. And maybe there are skinwalker incidences going on there. And maybe they're not going to discuss those. And maybe Bigelow found the same thing out. Maybe that predator looking thing that they all saw in the trees. Maybe that was kind of what a skinwalker was doing at that time. And then it just disappeared. They said clearly that the grass wasn't tall enough for anything to run and hide. And they chased it down behind that tree. And then when everybody got over there, it was not to be found. Yet they all clearly saw it. And it had nowhere to run that they would not have seen it try to escape.
It turned into a gopher.
It could have turned into a snake. Could have turned into a rattlesnake and just slithered away in the grass and been done with it. You never would have seen it. But it wasn't in its form. It wasn't in its humanoid form, because you certainly would have seen that even if it was camouflaged with that predator type camouflage, is what I'm saying. You would have seen grass. You would see an entity running through a grass field. Even if you couldn't see what it was, you would see the grass parting ways and moving and stuff. So
more than likely.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get to the wormhole.
Yeah. Wormhole. So do I.
Because and I have a theory that I want to pass by you.
Okay.
But first, what do you think? You think that that's correct? I mean, all they found obviously was that perfect circle and that black.
Yep. From the LiDAR again, or the radar. Yep.
Yep. And that black hole, I guess you could call it. And from that, they extrapolated this wormhole looking, or what a wormhole is theorized to look like.
Right.
Do you think that that's accurate?
I think that there is some type of portal or vortex or wormhole, I guess, on that property.
Synonyms.
Yeah, I think that there is something like that on that property. Is it sitting directly over the triangle? I don't know. I don't know how that would explain all the shit happening in the mesa. I don't know that it's not right above that ancient rock formation that the Native Americans placed there. And that is how things are freely entering and leaving the mesa.
I don't know. I don't think that could be the case, because I don't think that they've seen any craft, any orbs, any whatever go through the mesa at that point. Like if that was an opening to go through the mesa, then they would have to go through that point. But none of them ever do. They always go in like through the side, or or whatever.
Well, right. Yeah, they go in the whole entire mesa. I don't think there's any one point. You're right. I don't think there's any one point. I mean, like when they did the native drumming, those two things flew down into the mesa. The footage that sticks with me from the whole entire season is when they're in the helicopter and they're coming back and they watch the ball that appeared kind of a greenish color become like from the east field side, fly into the mesa, and then fly out of the other side of the mesa under the helicopter. To me, that was absolutely amazing. That is an absolutely amazing piece of footage.
Mm-hmm.
I found that. I mean, I was like, holy shit, they got it. Like that they've been looking for it. They've been searching. They've been talking about getting some evidence, some video proof, but they got it, right? You've got something entering the mesa, flying into the mesa from the east field side, that went through the mesa and came out on your side, and it looks to be the same object.
Mhm.
I found that to be absolutely amazing. Now, how would you explain that if the mesa is not some type of solid structure? I know Mark he was going deep with that answer. He's like, it's interdimensional. That's not even there in their dimension. It's not, I don't know. I mean, that's going a little deep. I
Well,
think that if you came into our realm, you have to follow the laws of our physics. And I think
but
we would be put under the same working guidelines if we were able to go to another realm.
but here's my question to that then. We don't even know all of our physics. I
No,
mean, we
true.
have we have what we know now. I mean, going back to the UAP hearing, I mean, you had every single one of those three guests or whatever, all talking about physics as we know them now.
Right.
And so why can't even an interdimensional type species with their crafts know more about physics? Like, let's say they know how to phase, like they know
Right.
how to phase their energy. I mean, we're all energy. Yeah, we have physical
Right.
bodies, but we're still energy. Who's to say they don't know how to phase their energy through solid rock or through solid anything?
This is going to sound like I don't know if this is going to sound far-fetched or not, to be honest. I've been thinking about this for a long time, though, concerning the ranch. I think that whatever's able to enter that mesa freely like that is just changing the vibrational structure of that mesa. So I think that they're just able, instead what we understand as solid rock formations is not as they're able to change that solid rock formation into something that is traversable, that they can just move right through without damaging or harming themselves.
Mhm.
It's still
Sure.
there in their realm, like it's still there in their dimension, but they can manipulate it in a way that we cannot.
Not
Is
yet.
kind of not yet. Right, not yet. I mean, I don't know. I'd be afraid. I would be afraid for all of us if technology came out that you were able to manipulate a solid object into a traversable object, because the ramifications of the idiots that run our planet right now, that would be the end of our planet, probably as we know it. They do all kinds of stupid shit with that technology.
Of course they do. So that kind of leads me to I have a theory and an explanation for the theory that's based off a question, and I know what you're going to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Do you think the wormhole was created by us?
No.
So here's why I think it might be. Because one, I wouldn't put it past us to try something that's stupid. Because I mean, if you think about it, if you could positively control each side of a wormhole, where it goes out, where it appears, where, whatever, you wouldn't need, you could have troops in another country in a matter of
Oh,
seconds
absolutely.
instead
Right.
of days. You would pretty much have the ultimate power of sending anybody anywhere. I mean, you could have them appear in Putin's bedroom if you wanted to, if you were able to control something like a wormhole.
Great.
I also keep going back to the question of that you asked me about Area 51, and I think you did this off the air after our show on it, one of the two shows on it, and you had asked me if I thought that the government had stoked the or exaggerated or made sure that they stayed in the public eye the rumors about Area 51 and alien technology and UFOs and stuff, to keep the fact of their like actual mission, which was, obviously the SR-71 and all of these spy
Stealth
planes.
bombers. Yep.
Yeah, the stealth bombers and all of these, stealth and spy planes and whatnot, to keep that away, or to keep the public away from what they're actually doing and keeping them busy with all this alien talk.
Right.
So now we have Robert Bigelow, who we know is associated with the government, and was even got a $22 million federal business grant or whatever the fuck they want to call it. My apologies. Well, that's like 4 weeks in a row with an F-bomb.
Hey, you're on a roll, man.
No, not for me. I just meant in general, because it was you and me, Mark, and then me again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Mark dropped one last week. Yep.
You're up next, buddy.
No, I'm trying. I'm doing my best not to.
Right. So, but I mean, so before Robert Bigelow you obviously had the Shermans, and they now have, this animal mutilations, and they saw this dire wolf, and they saw, the alien spacecraft, and they have the Ute Nation, with their portal talk,
Right.
up on the mesa, and all of this other carvings, stuff like that. I mean, why wouldn't it be the perfect place for military experiments, but keeping people distracted from it with all of the alien talk? And it out in the middle of nowhere, like they did with the A-bomb, would be the perfect place if they were trying to create something as unstable or as crazy as a wormhole.
So basically hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, only you're really not in plain sight unless you fly over it. But I mean,
Right.
You don't see a wormhole. I mean, it's not like, what is that? Oh my God, look at that little cone thing that they're making.
Right.
I wonder what that, like, nobody's ever going to see it.
No. I mean, obviously Travis and Eric and the team are trying to see it.
Yes, they are.
They're doing their best to outline it, I guess. Right. I mean, if that's what's happening over the triangle, I don't have an intelligent answer for what the LiDAR picked up and why there's a perfect circle over the triangle. I mean, maybe you do. I do not. I don't know why there would be a circle like that the LiDAR would show as an empty hole.
If I knew that answer, I would be on the show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We'd have solved it. We'd have solved it already. It wouldn't be a secret anymore. It would be the answers of Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, it would be the wormhole of Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that throws me for a loop, really, and we didn't talk a lot about this, is the way the GPS bounds underground. Like, why is the GPS diving so deep underground? Right? There's a reason that's happening. That GPS should not be showing these pinpoint hotspot locations, 300 feet under the mesa, or under the triangle. It shouldn't be like that. Should not be happening. They're above ground. They're on vehicles that are driving down the roads. That should be like that. It should be like the first map they showed when the guy was there. When they did the second drive back through, the exact path, same vehicle, same equipment, same everything, drove through, got a normal mapped out GPS grid. And then they showed his, and the thing was all over the place, man. Like, I don't even know what the hell was going on. I don't even know how to read that, with the way that shit is bouncing around under the ground. So is that wormhole affecting that? If it is, then why didn't it happen the second time? It doesn't make sense. It would be to me that it was the human being for some reason that had some type of effect on that.
See, I mean, and that to me is the weird thing, because if there is a wormhole there, it only happens every once in a while.
Yeah, I would want to know where it goes to. If it's man-made, like you said, sorry, and I'm getting back here to your question. So if we made it, okay, if it is made, and for argument's sake, we somehow discovered the technology to create a wormhole, and part of that wormhole drops out on the triangle, where does the other part go? And what are they sending through to test it? Right? Because you know that they're going to be like dropping dogs or cattle or appliances, or they're going to be dropping something through the wormhole to see what kind of effect the gravitational pull of the wormhole has on shit that gets dropped through the wormhole. For crying out loud, I would be dropping shit through the wormhole just to see what happens if we drop a nickel. right? And then what happens if we drop like a banana? And what, I'd be dropping shit in there just to see what the hell would happen and come out on the other side. So that if it was created by man, there would be, to me, there would be a huge pile of really weird looking stuff laying on the ground at the triangle, right? On the drop off point.
Maybe that's when they ended their research and Bigelow sold it to Brandon when maybe they failed. The remnants are still going to be there. They're still going to pick up that perfect circle and what used to be there, but maybe it's defunct.
Well, I could see that.
Because I just think
there's
that
a reason why he hasn't disclosed any data for his decade that he was there.
Exactly.
There's a reason why that shit is still private and hidden from our eye, because something happened. You don't hide data for no reason.
You hide it because it's a threat to national security.
Right. That would be the most common sense answer. Right.
And
you hide it because there's something dangerous in it. Something potentially dangerous. Not dangerous like, so like some, something's going to show. It's dangerous like for world danger. Like for the existence of the planet Earth dangerous. If it got in the wrong hands.
Yeah. I mean, either that or it just, it's happening in what's going on in the whole Trump business. They classify certain stuff because they don't want other parties to know how they did certain things. And I get that. If the United States government, and I honestly, I won't even say the government, the United States military, and I absolutely would not put this past them that they would try to control the laws of nature. And I actually was watching Godzilla the other night, and I absolutely remember Sarasawa's line of, the arrogance of man is that, the law, that nature is in our control and not the other way around.
Right.
I could completely see them trying to mess with stuff that they shouldn't be, and then keeping it secret, whether they succeeded or failed.
I think it goes right back to the Air Force general who stood on the podium and was like, no, we're not seeding the clouds in the atmosphere. What the hell are you talking about? We wouldn't be ever seeding clouds. We're not messing with the atmosphere and trying to change the weather patterns. You guys are insane for even thinking something like that. And then the guy retires and he comes out and goes, oh yeah, we've been seeding the atmosphere for like 20 years now. Yeah, I mean, what the hell, man? It's happening.
What it is.
It's happening right now.
Deny. That's all
right.
you.
That's right.
Only let the public know what you want them to know and keep everything else a secret, because then that means you hold all the power.
Right. And it's always about the power.
It's always about the power. God,
always.
So arrogant.
Sorry. Is, man. It's gonna be the downfall of mankind in general.
Well, this is our last chance around the sun. So, or not around the sun, but last chance of having an Earth.
Yeah, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, so I'm not stressed out about it. But future generations, you should be freaked out.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
If you're younger than us, freak the F out.
Yeah, don't be Chicken Little. Don't be running around saying the sky's falling, because it isn't yet. But somewhere down the road,
it's not going to fall.
Somewhere down the road, something's going to happen, right? SAI is going to show up. You're going to have this artificial intelligence, that Skynet type of mentality. We give all this power to these computers and say, do our jobs for us. And then, it's going to one of these days, they're going to do our jobs better than we do.
Yep. Well, on the note of Earth's annihilation, world destruction, that completes tonight's episode.
Yeah. We're leaving on a positive note.
That's right. So yeah, that actually is the end of the show. So I want to thank everybody for watching, listening, and we'll be back next week with another new episode on poltergeists, I believe.
Yep.
Yes, excellent. And another batch of your stories. Again, if you want to send in your stories, odysseyfilesradio@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on the radio show Facebook page. So with that said, everybody stay healthy, stay safe. We want to see you